My name is Joseph Picken. I'm a member of the faculty here at UT Dallas. I went to Dartmouth College on a Navy ROTC scholarship and served on active duty in the United States Navy from 1966 through 1970. That service included 2 combat tours in Vietnam totaling more than 14 months in 1967 through 69. I've been to the wall in Washington, D.C. at least half a dozen times. This is my 3rd visit to this traveling replica. It's always a bittersweet time. I'll find the names of Dartmouth classmates Peter Morrison, Denny Barger, Steve McBee, Todd Seal, and Dave Nicholas, shipmate Bob Anders, and Jim Merrick, one of the guys I grew up with in a small town in Iowa. 6 of us, including myself, were naval officers. 2 served in the U.S. Army. Our service took each of us to Vietnam, along with many others. I had the good fortune to return. The others did not, but we get together for a reunion at the wall whenever I have the opportunity. The bonds of shared experience are powerful, and even after nearly 5 decades, the memories are clear, and the sense of loss does not fade. Dave Nicholas and I had a special relationship. He was a year behind me at Dartmouth, but we were close friends and fraternity brothers. When I deferred my commission for a year to get a master's degree, we were sworn into the Navy in the same ceremony. Our paths diverged after we were commissioned. Black Dave, as he was known because of his twisted sense of humor, had orders to SEAL training in Coronado, California. Because I'd deferred my commission, I went to the back of the selection queue and was sent to a World War II vintage amphibious attack transport based in Norfolk, Virginia. Vietnam was heating up, and I volunteered for anything and everything to get closer to the action in the Pacific. After 15 months, I received orders to a missile destroyer out of Pearl Harbor. The USS Goldsboro, DDG-20, had just departed for Vietnam, and I caught up with her in the Philippines. It was quite a surprise to walk into the wardroom and see Black Dave, who had blown out his knee in SEAL training and had been assigned to the ship a couple months earlier. We spent the next 7 months on Operation Sea Dragon, patrolling the coast of North Vietnam as part of a 2-ship team tasked to slow down the delivery of war materials to the Viet Cong below the DMZ in South Vietnam. Navy photo recon and spotter aircraft found the targets and directed our gunfire. We operated around the clock in 2 watch sections, 6 hours on, 6 hours off, for 42 days at a time, followed by 3 days in port, and then back again for another 42 days. During each 42-day period, we refueled, rearmed, at sea at least a half a dozen times. The North Vietnamese had 5- and 6-inch guns hidden in caves along the coast and frequently returned fire. My job as officer of the deck was to hold course until the firing mission was complete, then accelerate and maneuver to avoid the hostile fire until we were out of range. Either I did my job well, or the North Vietnamese gunners were bad shots. But we only sustained minor damage during the cruise. Whenever we were able, Black Dave and I worked out together to stay in shape and rehab his knee for another run at SEAL school. You ought to try one-arm push-ups on a rolling deck sometime. It's quite a challenge. Upon our return to Pearl, the ship was awarded a Navy unit commendation for sinking more than 330 waterborne logistics craft, we called them Wiblings, and destroying multiple truck convoys along the coastal highway. My fiancée, Mary, met us on the pier, and we were married 6 days later. Black Dave was my best man, and several shipmates were in the wedding party. Dave had orders back to SEAL school and departed within the month. 4 months later, Goldsboro was sent back to the combat zone, and I left my pregnant bride in Pearl Harbor. Black Dave successfully completed SEAL training and visited Mary, some 6 months pregnant at the time, on his way back to Vietnam. We had learned that the baby would be a boy. Dave told Mary he had a feeling he would not return from this tour, and jokingly said, "If I don't make it back, name him Little Black Dave after me." Dave was killed in action during a SEAL team raid on a Viet Cong village less than 2 months later. David Joseph Picken was born in February 1969, is now a commander in the U.S. Navy. He serves as a senior medical officer on the USS George H.W. Bush, CVN 77, which returned to Norfolk less than a week ago from a 9-month deployment to the Middle East. My youngest son, Chris, is currently deployed as an FAA team pilot and the strike ops officer for the air wing on the USS Carl Vinson, CVN 70, which relieved the Bush and began its own combat tour earlier this month. tradition of military service and the Navy runs deep in our family. I've got 3 sons and a daughter. 2 of my sons are currently on active duty. My daughter married a naval officer. My 3rd son is a federal agent serving with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Collectively, we're proud to have served 2 tours in Vietnam, 3 in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan, and now 2 more in support of the current operations in Iraq and Syria. I have a feeling that Dave Nicholas and the others we remember on this wall